Hey all, welcome back to the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. I'm your host Darren, and today we're just going to do an end of 2019 wrap up. I want to just go over our first season of the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast, and thank you all for listening. But I'll be right back with our final episode for 2019.
Smoking, grilling, getting hot and hotter, sous vide and chilling from fire and water.
Hey all, before we get on to the show, I want to talk to you for a second about Instacart. Instacart's a great service that allows you to do all your grocery shopping online, and they can get you your groceries in as fast as 1 hour. They connect you with personal shoppers in your area that know your markets, and they can get them from your favorite stores. They find all the great buys and smart suggestions for you online to save you money. They pick the freshest produce, and they check your eggs and make sure they're not cracked. Check them out, guys. Instacart is offering free delivery on your first order of over $35 in the link below. Check them out. And now, on to the show. Hey all, welcome back to the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. I'm Darren, I'm your host. And we do not have a guest today. I thought I would take this last final episode for 2019 and just kind of go over our successes and things we learned over the last year. We kind of started this podcast around March or April of this year. Didn't know if it was going to last or how it was going to go, but I can tell you so far it's been a pretty good experience for me. I was able to get some really great guests in 2019, and hopefully we'll have some more in 2020. Definitely going to keep this podcast going. It's growing, at a pretty rapid pace as far as I can tell. As far as the podcast market is pretty flooded, especially with the barbecue side. And one of the things I was hoping to accomplish with this podcast is to get more of the sous vide and barbecue information out there, and also, not neglect the barbecue side and just concentrate on the sous vide, but because I still have a passion for the barbecue world. And as you can tell, some of the guests that I've had on, such as Meathead Goldwyn and Kent Cantwell from AmazingRibs.com, feel the same way. Jason Logston and Mike Lashardy from the International Sous Vide Association as well. I've been lucky enough to have some pretty amazing guests on. Those that I just mentioned. Plus, I've had Malcolm Reed and his wife Rochelle on as well. The CEO of Crowd Cow. I've had the Cole Wagner from Anova, and just a plethora of people that I look up to as far as YouTube channel operators such as Troy Smith from T. Roy Cooks, Greg Mervich, who is also an author of 2 books and has a really great YouTube channel as well called Ballistic Barbecue. I've been very lucky to have some very great guests on with some really great information. John Setzler from Man Cave Meals was one of the guys who inspired me to even start doing this. And I'm hoping to have him again really soon. He's expressed a desire to concentrate a whole episode on talking about smoke and how to use it for seasoning and other aspects of things like that he wants to kind of talk about. So I've been blessed this year, and I hope all my listeners out there have been getting some great information. I know that it is, like I said, there's a lot of podcasts to choose from out there, and mine is just another one drop in the bucket. But hopefully, the way I'm putting the podcast together, I'm trying to get some really good guests to get some good information out there. Every once in a while, it does. My guests kind of dry up, and I have to scramble to try to put an episode together. But hopefully I'm always, giving you some information that you could take home and use. So if not, make sure you check me out on my website. You can shoot me an email at fireandwatercooking@gmail.com. facebook.com. Check out Fire and Water. It's the A-N-D, Fire A-N-D Water Cooking.com. It's my main website. Also has my blog on there. But make sure you also check out the Facebook group and Facebook page, Fire and Water Cooking. The Fire and Water Cooking group on Facebook is very interactive. We get a lot of people on there that post up their cooks, ask questions. We try to help out. We've got some great moderators on there. Some of the moderators are actually been guests on the podcast as well. So I'd like to encourage you guys to check those out. And also make sure you check out my YouTube channel. I'm going to focus a little bit more on YouTube this year in 2020. I haven't been, really focusing too much on it. I've just been kind of throwing up videos. I haven't been concentrating on editing or video production as much as I should, I think, with that platform. But I know I want to work on my video presentation skills and editing and all that, try to build up the YouTube. I'm trying to get all the platforms, as informational as possible so that I don't have just a major, one platform is much bigger than the other. And Facebook right now seems to be the one that's growing the most. It's the most interactive as far as the groups go. People tend to ask more questions and participate in it much more than YouTube or Instagram. I do try to do some Instagram stuff, but it's just the platform itself is very limiting on what you can do as far as being interactive at all. So as far as this podcast goes, though, for 2020, I expect to continue to get some really great guests. I've already got some lined up, both on the barbecue and sous vide side. And I will be participating in the International Sous Vide Association Sous Vide Summit this year in San Francisco. So you can bet you'll hear some more about that coming up on some future episodes. I'm sure I'll have Jason Logston and Mike Lashardy on again to talk about that leading up to the Sous Vide Summit in San Francisco this year as well. But like always, I'm going to try to make every episode a little bit different, talk about a little bit, not try to hammer on the same things all the time. So just make sure you are subscribed to the podcast. I also want to thank Inkbird Products for being one of my biggest sponsors. They've kind of helped out primarily pretty much the second month of the podcast. I asked them if they wanted to sponsor the podcast, and they were all in on it and have been helping me keep this podcast going by contributing just a little bit of cash to help me pay the bills for this thing. So I also want to thank other sponsors that indirectly help with the podcast, like Camp Chef and Grill Grates and some of the others. But definitely want to thank my sponsors. Like I said, the Fire and Water Cooking website is where you can find the videos from YouTube. The podcast is also linked there. The blog, I'm going to try to actually do a little bit more with my blog this year as well. I've kind of let that slip because that's one of the things that for some reason I always tend to put way on the back burner. I've been putting the Facebook and podcast, I guess just to get the podcast going up and running, I've been putting a little bit more time and effort into that. Where the blog, I can actually probably cover more informational data and answer more questions a little bit easier for people in a blog format. So you'll see me do a little bit more with the blogs this year. But I do want to thank you guys, all you who have subscribed to the podcast and that follow us on a regular basis. I want to thank you. I do get some statistics back that show that, the subscriber base is growing. The people who are continuing to listen are coming back and listening to more episodes. I, want to ask you if you could go back to some of the episodes. We've had this is the 37th episode of the podcast. So if you could go back and just scroll through some of the episodes that maybe you missed, some of the ones that maybe you would like to hear again, maybe you missed some information, But make sure you go back there because we've had some really great guests. Like I said, we've had Meathead Goldwyn from Amazing Ribs. We've had Susie and Todd Bullock from Hey Grill Hey. We've had Mike Lashardi and Jason Logston from the International Sous Vide Association. We've had Helen Rennie from Helen's Cooking School YouTube channel, and she's got some great information. Malcolm and Rochelle Reed. We've had Chef Eric Villegas from Vac-Master. We've had Michael Delaporte from the Grill Grate Company talking about grill grates and how they were developed and how they run in the SCA. Just check it out. We've had some really great guests. I'm very happy with the quality and quantity of guests that we were able to get in 2019, and hopefully 2020 will be the same way. So this episode is not going to be the longest in the world. I just kind of wanted to thank everybody for following me. I wanted to give you a little heads up. We are going to continue the podcast. We're going to expand the podcast. We're going to get some great guests in 2020. We're also expanding. We're going to be improving the YouTube channel, videos, and just make sure you follow us on our Facebook page and Facebook group as well, because there's a lot of information on there. I hope you all had a great Christmas, Hanukkah, whichever you celebrate, and I hope you have a great and prosperous New Year. Thanks again for joining me on the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. And again, make sure you check us out on all our other social media sites and the Fire and Water Cooking website. I'll see you again in 2020, and have a great day, and make sure you cook some great food. Thanks for following.